I'm Pamela King, and I call myself a small business optimizer. So think of that as a short-term fractional chief of staff, part operations, part communications, some staff training and development, and some of those other housekeeping type items. Not everybody likes doing those foundational things. And so the first question I ask is, what do you want to keep? And I think that's so important. Sometimes people think, oh, I can't wait to not do this and not do that. I think it's better for people to really focus on their zone of genius. What are the things that light them up? What is it? If I could just focus on my calls and going to networking events and then the other stuff, or however you want to hand it off, that to me is that first really big decision. And bring me on and hand all those things over. Because that's the tricky part, is that so many founders have built everything on their ability. You don't have to be the ultimate at everything. You don't have to wear all the hats. And frankly, it's not a good use of your time. Keep the stuff you love doing and then let somebody else kind of get into that nitty gritty and develop out the team and your staff skills from there. Truly, in all my time working with entrepreneurs, the way to get them to feel emotionally safe is to have those systems in place. Because when you can show your staff what done looks like, when you say, here's my template, here's my checklist, here's how this workflow should be, it is so much easier and empowering to delegate because you can trust if you're using that template, if you're following our sample, if you are, using our, tried and true portfolio, then I can trust it rather than saying, well, don't send that till I've looked at it. Or, well, this staff member has parts A and B done, but it's up to me to look it over before this person can do parts C and D. You're being your own bottleneck, you're slowing it down. And once that all is there, that framework allows you to trust and to feel safe and for things to move smoothly so that it's easier and easier for you to just sort of let the process go. Everything is constantly needs to be iterated. A danger can be when we say, oh, well, we did our processes or we wrote SOPs before and act like that's a box that's been checked and that we don't have to revisit it. So I would say to kind of build that into your habits of, is that quarterly? Is that annually? It's going to make sense based on you and your company and even the tools you're using. Because, let's say something updates and it has, new capabilities it didn't have a year ago. Those kind of things need to be accounted for. To me, like the sign of a really strong leader, like you kind of touched on with culture, is somebody that it's safe to ask questions of and somebody it's okay to push back on. And especially somebody who does trust and listen to their team, where they're not walking on eggshells or they're not just saying, well, this is what the boss wants, so this is what I'm going to do. I think something that is important and to, refer back to the conversation that you were referencing, sometimes humans are going to tell you no or going to tell you you're wrong in a way that if you're just working alone in a silo or with some sort of AI companion that's going to say, great idea, or that's you've really got
You
something
got
here.
this. You
Yeah.
got this.
And it's going
Yeah.
to keep feeding you
Mm.
what you're saying. So listening to the people who are working with you, who are closest to it, who maybe have some training, some instincts, or are just, in a different, like the conversations they're having, the professional organizations they're members of, all those things might be giving them information that you don't know. If it's not your zone of genius, that's okay. Listen and trust those people and make it where it is okay to make a suggestion or to push back or to question, well, why are we using Monday? For example, well, what are we trying to achieve? Well, have you looked at this other program that does those similar things at a different cost or also has these other components instead of paying for this one for this and this one for that? Those kind of conversations are what is going to be so impactful and help you stay scrappy and keep your costs low, which is near and dear to my heart and my clients' hearts, and I'm sure all of your listeners as well.